The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. And for more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit jossplays.com. The Angry Chicken is brought to you by our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leper gnome. I knew it. So hot.
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
This is The Angry Chicken, episode 406 to be exact. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, here as always with Jocelyn Carney. And Joss, I hope you're comfortable.
You know, I put my yoga pants on. I was like, well, you know, that's insinuating that I don't just wear them all day, every day now, which I kind of do. But also,
I mean, I wasn't going to ask, but, you know, thanks for being honest.
Every once in a while, I try to be an adult and I put my jeans on, and I usually last till about noon. And I'm like, why am I doing this? My belly doesn't like me doing this. Where's my yoga pants?
Well, I'm also wearing athletic shorts with the stretchy band. So there we go.
It's all about the stretchy band these days, Garrett. All about that stretchy band.
we got a lot to talk about today.
Oh my God, we have so much show.
We're going to have a long show, and yet we will be on a single subject of discussion for the entire program.
Probably surprising no one.
Yeah, I guess so, probably. So, yeah, if you're expecting crazy game stories, battlegrounds, emails, anything of the such, this is not that episode. Today we were going to be talking about the core set and only the core set because there was so much core set to talk about.
I mean, who doesn't like a corset?
A corset?
That's what everyone says that I say. I'm like, no,
oh, when you say corset? Oh, okay. Like Pirates
Apparently
1.
I make it run together.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean 1.
To.
Yeah. There's not Natalie Portman. What's her name?
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley. Thank you. All I can think of. Katie and I have been talking about how we have an itch to watch those movies again, and probably just stop after the third one because it gets even weirder after that. But
yeah, it does get super weird, but it's entertaining, I think.
They're fun. They're fun.
And they have
jaunty,
corsets.
And they have corsets. Yeah, why not? And lots of dudes wearing eyeliner, which I appreciate. So, as a previous guyliner representative myself, down with it. I'm down with it. Anyways, before we get into the meat of this entire freaking episode, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you like what we're doing here on The Angry Chicken, your premier independent Hearthstone podcast, even though I don't think there's an official one. They did one for like a hot second, didn't they?
They did one for a little bit, yeah.
They did. Oh, what the hell is that called? Talkstone?
Talkstone.
Talkstone, yeah. Yeah. No harsh opinions about rewards tracks on that show if it had continued to that point. Yeah. Anyways, if you want to support us, the Patreon's the best way to do so. So go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. Get yourself an ad-free version of this here podcast program delivered to you automatically like all podcasts normally work, but it's for you. It's a personal RSS feed just for you, dear listeners supporting us on Patreon. We also thank you, like we will, Woolen Lotus 81 is how I'm going to choose to pronounce that one, unless it's Woolen Lotus. I don't know. I don't even know how I would run that together.
Wool, I think it's Woolen
and Lotus.
Woolen Lotus.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Woolen Lotus as well. Well, thank you on this program. You get access to our Discord, some other fine perks. Go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC and Woolen Lotus 81. Thank you, and welcome to the Chicken Coop. How have we never called it that before?
I don't know, because we don't have a weird name like so many people do.
But we do. We could. Chicken.
We could. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that too close to Firebat's Welcome Back to the Batcave? Are we allowed to do that? Firebat, if you're listening, which you're probably not, let us know. Anyways, let's talk about the core set because the entire core set has been revealed. And there's just a lot to unpack here, Joss. There's quite a lot to unpack. I will be using for the video audience a massive mega image that I believe was put together by someone over on Hearthpwn. I have asked Twitter who I should credit for this, and no one got back to me. But
well, where did you find it?
I found it in a Twitter reply to Brian Kibler that involved our good friend Ridiculous Hat. And again, quote, it was some guy on Hearthpwn made this, was what the things. So the person that was sending it to Kibler wasn't even, they weren't sure where it originally came from. So if you made this, thank you. And please let me know. I will point out and give you proper thanks in the future. But I went ahead and I've got a link to the image in the show notes for anyone at home who wants to follow along. I went and reoriented it to be vertical because it makes my life easier.
It fits better.
Yes. And you might be saying to yourself, you understand that the core set is going to have a lot of new cards, it's going to have some wild cards returning, but it's also going to have some of the basic and classic cards that we know today and right now sticking around. You might be thinking, hey, what's staying? And the answer is quite a few things, and we're not going to talk about them because they're staying. And that's part of why I really liked this image, because it omits that. It's like, hey, if it's sticking around from the basic and the classic set. Yeah, the basic set. And it's not changing. It's not on here because we don't, which is great for a podcast. We don't need to talk about that. It's staying. There's a full list. We also have a full list of the whole core set. It's on the official site. You can find it everywhere. The only major things to point out is there are 4 Demon Hunter cards and 1 neutral that is sticking around as well that were not part of the basic and classic set. And for Demon Hunter, that is Battle Fiend, Feast of Souls, Eyebeam, and Raging Fell Screamer. And the neutral is Sunreaver Spy. Keeping just a little bit extra secret synergy in there for any class to have fun with. Unless your class doesn't have secrets. And I mean, there's nothing stopping you, but I might judge you.
As the resident Demon Hunter hater, I will say I'm okay with these choices. There's still some potentially problematic things, but I feel like they got rid of the things that just made me rage. And we're going to talk about what's leaving later, so I don't want to jump way ahead, but I think, Eyebeam and Battle Fiend, they're okay, and the other two you don't really see that often. So I'm okay with this, and if I'm okay with this, then everybody probably is.
I'm going to start calling you the Demon Hunter instead of Demon Hunter hater.
Yeah, there we go.
So, just be a little bit. But let's get into the new cards. I figured that'd be a good place to kind of start the meaty discussion because, well, they're new. We haven't seen these. We haven't seen most of these cards so far. And this is in alphabetical class order, which means we will be starting with Demon Hunter. Which means we're starting with Korvas Bloodthorn, a 2-mana 2/2 legendary Demon Hunter minion with charge, lifesteal, and it reads, after you play a card with Outcast, return this to your hand.
Yeah. So charge is always potentially a problem, but I think this is probably maybe okay. I don't know.
I think it's probably maybe okay as well. I think that's a great way to put this. Probably maybe okay.
I mean, you can't buff it really in any way, shape, or form, right?
Because that we know of so far.
Well, yeah, I guess hand buffing is kind of technically a thing, but I can't see that's a lot of maneuvering to try to make this problematic. It's in order to
Abusive Sergeant is staying, Jocelyn.
True. But if you buff this with Abusive Sergeant and then play an Outcast card, which is the thing that you want to do as Demon Hunter, it's going to pop back in your hand and lose that buff, right? So the action of returning it to your hand instead of saying, for instance, gets to attack again, I think that is, I mean, obviously you have the mana cost associated with it, but I think also because this is going to get returned to your hand a lot, so it'll lose any buffs. So I think it's maybe kind of okay. It's a 2/2 for 2. So it's not big in and of itself. I mean, obviously Stone Tusk Lure was a problem, but yeah, I think a lot of Demon Hunter power comes from playing Outcast cards, and you're not going to be able to play everything that you need to play at the power level that Demon Hunter can achieve, because every time you outcast that thing, then this is going to pop back in your hand. You're going to be like, damn it.
I think it just now dawned on me that I have never teased you for the way Canadians say out and your pronunciation of outcast. How has that never registered, and how has that never been a joke on this show?
I just say it like normal, okay?
Do Canadians make fun of how Americans say out?
Canadians make fun of how Americans say everything.
All right, just making sure, because I feel like that is something that should cut both ways, and I just wanted to confirm that it in fact does.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I'm with you on this. It's probably okay for all the reasons that you stated. You know, you're still gonna have to pay the 2 mana to hit this on the board, and you know, 2 damage to face, providing there's no taunt. All those concerns, I think it's gonna be just fine. Also, great art. The next one, Joss, how do you pronounce Genarg? This is something I saw a million times when I was playing Burning Crusade, and not once was I ever sure of how to pronounce it. Do you know?
Well, I don't know, because apparently I don't know how to say out properly, so I don't know why you're asking me for pronunciation advice, but
I should have saw that coming.
I was like, is he really gonna let me have this one? Oh, he is. Here's your silver platter. But yeah, so I think it's Genarg. I would say Genarg.
I've always said Genarg. Anyway, Genarg, Glavesmith, 3 mana, 3/2, common Demon Hunter Demon. Outcast, give your hero +3 attack this turn. This is fairly straightforward, very much in the vein.
It's very Demon Hunter-y.
Yeah, very much in the vein of what Demon Hunter wants to do. And that's a trend we're gonna see through a lot of these new core cards, because this is the core set. It's supposed to really play up like the basics of the class identity of these classes and what they're known for. And Demon Hunter, it seems like they're sticking around with the Demon Hunter gives their hero a ton of attack.
Yes.
If
which we see in the next one as well. The Illidari Inquisitor, 8 mana, 8/8. When your hero attacks an enemy, this attacks it too. It's kind of, again, like the Demon Hunter hero attacking, playing around with those demons and doing stuff with your minions. Like when I say doing stuff with your minions, I mean like your hero like getting down. I'm picturing them like in the fight with the minions and with the demons and getting right in there. It just, again, feels very Demon Hunter-y. And
it has rush, so it can attack
first. Rush, yeah.
So like you can slam it down, you can get some value out of it, and then you can attack with your hero and get additional value out of it. So it can get 2 attacks in a turn.
Yeah, it's like pseudo Wind Fury kind of. Although, if I attack as a Demon Hunter, my opponent's face, will this attack face in the turn that it's played? Because I would think yes, it would.
100% my understanding of this card.
Yeah. Which then, so then that's kind of, I don't know. This seems super crazy, but but also really interesting and very powerful. And I think it's okay because you're paying 8 mana for it, and even if you get the like skull discount, then I still think even at that mana cost, this is okay because you still have to play skull, right? So
yeah.
I
really like the design of this card. I've just really enjoyed watching them find new ways to bring charge adjacent play back into Hearthstone, because like this in theory could do.
I love how we're talking charge adjacent after 2 cards ago talking about a card with charge.
Well, yeah, but like that card is seemingly balanced. Who knows? Maybe a month from now we're going to be like, who thought Corvus was a good idea? We've been wrong before, and I'm sure we'll be wrong again. But yeah, Illidari Inquisitor, and like it has rush, it has new charge on it, right? On top of the fact that it also has the capability of doing face damage the turn it's played, depending on the situation and how you utilize attacking with your hero. So I find the design of this particular card really interesting, and also a poster child for like how many lessons we've learned about damage from hand attached to minions.
Yeah.
I dig it quite a bit. Let's move into Druid, who are getting a whopping 1 new minion in the core set. One new minion. Nordrassil Druid. I'm going to say this a lot today, but I love the art on this card. It's a 4-mana, 3/5 rare druid minion with a battle cry that reads, the next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less.
Yeah, so more mana manipulation. It doesn't have a tag. It's not going beastie. Like, I think, like you said off the top with the Demon Hunter cards, these cards are designed in a way to give you a very good idea right off the bat what the class is supposed to do in Hearthstone. So druids are supposed to manipulate mana. Cool, got it. Moving on. And I think that the classes that got fewer cards just go to show like how close they stuck to that, or how close they were to hitting that class fantasy with the original basic classic set, right? Like, so obviously Demon Hunters got a lot of stuff because it's new, but then there's some classes like Priest got 4. Shaman saw a whole bunch of changes to their basic classic set that, you know, we're going to talk about a little bit later. A warrior got quite a few as well. So I think those are the ones where they really had to like shore up the identity of a class. But like druid, it's like, it's very obvious what druid wants to do and what their identity should be. So they didn't need as much help as others. So they just got the Nordrassil Druid. And I think that it's awesome. I think it's a good card. If you can cast a spell at the same time, then, I mean, you've basically got like a 1-mana 3/5. This seems good.
Yeah, I dig it as well. Hunter also got only one new card in the core set, Selective Breeder, which creeps me out a little bit. But anyway.
I think we've already talked about this one.
Anyway, the 2-mana 1/1 battle cry, discover a copy of Beast in your deck. I believe you are correct. Yeah, never mind. Now that I'm reading the body on it, that is jogging my memory. Anyway, that is Hunter AF. Have we talked about Eggwin? Do you not pronounce the G? Eggwin the Guardian?
Eggwin.
We haven't talked about Eggwin the Guardian, have we?
We have not, but she is a fantastic lore character, and I am super stoked that she's in Hearthstone now. And this art, I know Garrett's going to say it a lot, but I'm going to say it for Eggwin. I love this art. She looks like Jaina, but not, which is cool because she was like Jaina's mentor for a little time. She's mom of Medivh. Like, oh man, she's such a cool character in Warcraft lore. She's such a badass, and I'm really glad that she's like gonna be in the core set now and potentially moving forward through Hearthstone year over year.
I can't help myself. She is also in a corset. So there we go. Well done.
She is.
Eggwin is a 5-mana 5/5 legendary mage minion, spell damage +2. Not specific spell damage. This is old school.
Yep.
Any spell damage, +2. Death Rattle, the next minion you draw inherits these powers.
How cool is that?
That is quite neat, yeah. Death Rattle on the next minion you draw, like, is also, like, we haven't seen that before, right? So Eggwin needs to die, Death Rattle, then you get into, like, an effect on the next minion you draw. So you're also not going to brick if you draw a spell.
Yeah, it's this kind of effect that hangs out on your side of the board until something happens, which is really, really neat. We've seen it a little bit with like, I think it was like dragons. It was like the next dragon you play, that would be a turn over turn effect until you would actually play the dragon out, and then the discount on all of your dragon cards would go away. We saw it, obviously, same thing with all of the studies cards. Those are very similar as well. But this is really interesting because it's an effect tied to a minion. It's a death rattle. It could potentially be silenced, but if it's not, it just kind of like hangs out for a while until you draw a minion. So yeah, this is really neat. I like the design. Again, another kind of more innovative card design that we're seeing that's going to stick around for a while. So I like this.
Yeah, and chat room is expertly pointing out the memes around Carnival Clown not going anywhere. Being able to potentially get this land on a Carnival Clown and fill your board with it and get +14 spell damage, which is gross, to be fair.
So much of Carnival Clown is gross, though.
I mean, clowns in general, sorry.
Yeah.
If you are a clown fan, but they scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And we just lived through 2 more remakes of It. So
yeah,
that fear is not going anywhere.
They're not getting any. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're not getting any less scary.
Nowhere at all. But before we move on, we should probably take a quick break and thank today's sponsor, Jocelyn, because we are once again sponsored by Raycon. They're back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You should go check out their offerings over at buyraycon.com/TAC. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I feel like I am always looking at a screen, either playing Hearthstone or typing up these show notes. So if you out there are in need of getting away from the monitor, you know, unplugging yourself, you know, it's easier said than done. You know, one of my favorite ways to rest my eyes and still listen to podcasts made by wonderful and good-looking Americans and Canadians who pronounce things differently and still get along is by putting in my Raycon wireless earbuds and listening to something awesome. You know, maybe not this show because it's weird, I'm on it, but you can listen to it, dear listener. In fact, if you're hearing this, I've got news for you. You are listening to it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Oh, dude, I love my Raycon earbuds. I know you've got a pair too. I think we both got ours like at the exact same time. It's been over a year now.
I got the fancy blue ones.
I got blue ones as well. I love them. They match my car. I have a blue car in real life, and it's very pretty, and I'm a fan of it. I was just using them the other night. I was like, I was doing dishes, and like Katie was probably watching an Office rerun for like the millionth time. But like, all right, I want to catch up on podcasts while I'm, you know, doing the dishes, and so I had them in, and they fit really well. I have super sensitive ears. If things are in it for too long, they start to hurt. But the like rubbery design of the inserts are just, it's perfect. I haven't really had any issues with pain in my ears from listening to these, and more important, they didn't fall out while I was doing the dishes and going to the garbage disposal, which would be, well, problematic to say the least.
But if they did fall out when you were doing the dishes, I don't have a garbage disposal, but my sink's full of water, but they're water resistant too. So
yeah, it's great. And, 6 hours of playtime. I'm not saying that it takes me 6 hours to do my dishes, because that would be, a little embarrassing.
A lot of dishes.
And I wouldn't want to share that with you. But I could if I wanted to. So you should go check them out. Raycon's offering 15% off all their products for Angry Chicken listeners. And here's what you got to do to get it. Go to buyraycon.com/TAC. And that's it. That's all you got to do. You'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order. So feel free to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/TAC. It's buyraycon.com/TAC. We thank them for their support. We thank you for supporting the brands that support us here at The Angry Chicken, and for sticking around for us talking about a butt ton more cards as we move into new core cards for Paladin. First up being Reckoning. I feel like I should say Reckoning, which is a 1-mana epic Paladin holy spell. Have to start reading those spell tags. It's a secret that reads, after an enemy minion deals 3 or more damage, destroy it. Doesn't specify where the damage needs to be done. It's not damage to you as the hero or to any of your minions. Doesn't matter if damage is being done. Kill that sucker.
It does read after, so it works a whole lot like, oh shoot, now I'm totally blanking on it. Flame Ward on the mage side, where the damage still goes through and then the damage is dealt to the board. But I think this is awesome. This is like, what's it? Vaporize, but without specifying exactly where the damage needs to go, like you said, Garrett. So I think it's like weaker in some respects, stronger in other respects. And I think that makes a lot of sense in the Paladin secret kind of wheelhouse. Because again, we're talking about 1-mana spells, not 3-mana spells. So I think this is really good. This feels like a really good, fun secret. Yeah,
it's like you know exactly what you need to do to test for it, but there's definitely going to be scenarios where you can't test for it easily. It's like, well, I only have 1 minion and it's giant. It's like an 8-attack minion. Oh, is it Reckoning? You have to sit there and think about it.
Do I just not attack forever with this one thing? Very similar to a freezing trap almost. Like, do I just sit on this minion and not do anything until I have a way to test? Or do I, like I do, just take my chances?
Send it.
And then, of course, it's freezing trap. But
yeah. The better question to ask is, do I think I'll have something small and that I don't care about in the next turn soon. Or two to test for freezing trap? And this will be, do I have anything with 3 attack that I don't care about that I'll be able to test with anytime soon? It's definitely going to be living in my head if I see a Paladin secret come up now. Paladins are also getting Pursuit of Justice, a 2-mana epic holy spell that reads, give +1 attack to Silverhand recruits you summon this game. Which, when I first saw this before seeing what was returning, I was like, Muster for Battle, but Muster for Battle is not returning. So this core set is a sham and a failure of epic proportions.
There.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, it definitely is, but we're going to talk about why later, but
I actually don't know what you're salty about, so this will be
really?
a learning experience
Garrett,
for me.
You have no idea what I'm salty about.
We've already talked about You're the Unicorn and not happening again. So like, I don't know. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with how many vendettas you have, Jocelyn. Okay.
I do have a lot. I have a binder full of vendettas.
Audio listeners, she actually patted a binder to her right. Yeah, that's where we're at on this episode. So. Hi, Lynn's in chat room. You know exactly what you just walked into. Anyways, yeah, Pursuit of Justice, perfectly fine. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. It's going to, depend on how much we're relying on dudes. I'm excited that this is like a permanent effect. It affects Silverhand recruits that you summon this game. That's cool. Hero power ain't changing for Paladin. So they're still doing that, but I don't know. I hope we're back in a dude paladin meta at some point, because I really do like that archetype.
I like dude paladin. Yeah, I would definitely be down for a return to that. So if that's, I think Pursuit of Justice obviously plays into that. And like you said, Silverhand recruits get summoned by your hero power, so you can play this and then just get 2/1s for the rest of the game whenever you push the button. So yeah, this is really cool. I hope we get to a place of dude pally. There's some dude pally support that is coming back in the core set.
But not Muster.
Not Muster.
Or Quartermaster.
That's okay. You can play Muster, Quartermaster, Pursuit of Justice, Dude Pally over in Wild.
Nah. Let's get into priests. Crimson Clergy is our first new priest core card. 1 mana, 1/3 rare priest minion.
Isn't that Clergy?
Are we really splitting hairs on how we pronounce an ER? Is that the point we've gotten to?
Because clergy is a thing.
Yes, clergy.
Clergy is not a thing.
So I put a little more emphasis on my ear. Is like.
Okay, I promise this is not going to be the whole entire show. I promise. This is not going to be how we I almost said how we pronunciate. Oh man,
you're wrecking me.
A long day.
You're wrecking me, Joss. Anyway, Crimson, whatever the hell, reads, after a friendly character is healed, gain +1 attack.
Yep, sure does.
I mean, it's a 1/3 for 1. It'll probably see some play, and I bet a friendly character will get healed at some point.
Yeah, and as all on heal effects work, I'm imagining that something has to be damaged in order to get healed. So it's not like you can just play this on turn 1, nothing gets damaged. You use your hero power and then this gets buffed. Like there actually has to be some damage exchange and stuff, which gives your opponent a little bit of counterplay. So it's not necessarily quite as bad as, say, like old school Mana Worm was, that just grew and grew and grew forever, and there wasn't a whole lot that your opponent could do if you were sitting there with spells in hand. So this is like, as much as we're kind of worried in general based on the history of Hearthstone about 1/3s for 1 that grow in some way, I think that this is maybe okay and manageable.
I wouldn't be upset if I saw this resurrected, and that's all I really care about right now in Priest.
That's fair enough.
Even though I've
been doing that for a long time.
Still playing friggin' Big Priest in Standard right now, but yeah, that's my bar to clear. How angry will I get when this gets resurrected is the question I am asking myself during Priest right now. No, I like this. I'm with you. I think my gut reaction is this is an okay scaling 1/3 based on how it scales. Priest is also getting Focused Will, 1 mana rare priest spell. Silence a minion, then give it +3 health. This easily could have been a classic basic card back in 2014, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, this is interesting because it does all the silence things, and there's plenty of minions that have effects that either you want to silence or that you don't care about anymore. So anything with a battle cry, you can silence without any ill effect. And so, yeah, this is an interesting buff card.
Yeah.
Are we going back to the ancient Watcher days?
Ooh, we could. Wait, are they sticking around? I need a. No. No, unless they're staying and changed. No. Too many things to check.
Yeah, oh my god, there's so many changes.
Too many things to check. Thrive in the Shadows is up next for priest. 2 mana rare shadow spell. Discover a spell from your deck.
Now, this is interesting, and I'm sorry, Garrett, I'm going to make you go and look at other things that we were maybe going to talk about later, but tracking, which does exactly the same thing, though it doesn't have a spell type card, although you could probably argue it's a nature spell. But anyways, it's just 1 mana, discover a card in your deck. So it didn't change mana cost, but it's exactly the same card in a different class as Thrive in the Shadows. It's 2 mana.
Let's see. Yeah, tracking. How do they discover a card from your deck? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
and they didn't give it
the exact same thing, but a different mana cost.
So is what you find perplexing the fact that tracking wasn't given a spell school?
Well, that tracking wasn't given a spell school or a mana cost change, or that this wasn't created at 1 mana. And I know that there are very much like class differences that can affect design and everything else. But I mean, I'm kind of curious why literally the exact same spell is a different cost in 2 different classes. So I'm just a little bit curious about the thinking here. Like, is a spell tag, like, our priests can have enough to do in the next year that's going to make the shadow spell tag really important? Then is it actually going to, discover a spell in your deck? Oh, okay. So sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you, chat room. It's spell versus card. Okay. So, but then again, yeah, this is targeted. So then that would give it a higher cost. That makes sense.
It's still
I literally thought it was the same text. I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah. While you were talking about it, I didn't even register with me either, but it's an interesting conversation and one we don't really get into that much. You know, back when I was really into Magic and listening to shout out to the Limited Resources podcast, they would constantly get into conversations about, you know, what is a mana worth on a card,
right?
You know, and that's where like the talk when we're talking about minions in Hearthstone, where like the vanilla test that comes from Magic. You know, if a minion is 2 mana, it better have at least 2 attack, 2 health, and if it doesn't, it should have like that is your baseline. It should be moved around. Maybe you'd have 1 attack and 3 health or whatever, even though we have 1 mana, 1/3. So there are minions that far exceed that vanilla test. And
right.
we don't really talk about it all that much in Hearthstone because it's a very different game, especially, you know, because of the fact that you're working with a perfect mana curve and, you know, no lands and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But, you know, is this worth it? Like, because yes, this is targeted draw, but this is still fairly wide, providing on how you build your deck, right? If there's quite a few spells, this isn't that targeted. Is, you know, narrowing it down from discover a card from your deck to discover a spell from your deck, is that worth 1 mana? Also, hey, is a spell tag, is a spell school worth much? I don't think we can answer it yet, but
yeah, that's kind of where my head goes, is if they are going to play around a lot with the idea of spell schools over the course of the Year of the Griffin, are like, is the fact that it's a shadow spell going to have some sort of like mana cost associated with it, like taunt does, right? Or like spell damage does. Like normally you have to pay a little bit more for these kind of effects, like not a full mana, but it's all factored into the cost, right? You don't usually get an effect like that straight up for free. So I'm wondering if they have a lot of plans for spell schools as we go forward. I would kind of expect them to, but yeah, it kind of struck me as something I was just like, huh. Because and I know we're talking about early game and whatever, but it's double the cost.
Yeah.
I thought it was odd.
Without knowing how powerful spell schools are going to feel, I would still say, yeah, I think this card is worth the extra mana just because how much it narrows down what type of cards I'm discovering from my deck.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. Shadowed Spirit is up next for Priest. A 3 mana 4/3 common priest minion with a death rattle that reads, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. We already knew that Shadow Form was returning, so this kind of face damage, shadowy priest theme is coming back.
Yeah, Yeah, this just seems like really good and really aggressive in a way that I wouldn't necessarily expect Priest to play, right? Because you've got, like you said, face damage. This could just go face till it dies. Like this does seem really like offensive, where Priest, at least the way we've been playing it the last few years, has very much been like a just sit back, like heal your face on turn 2, do nothing, react, res, outvalue, get Galakron, like get Priest minions randomly and just make the other guy quit.
I mean, Priest
this
for the
seems
last...
like they're actually trying to kill you.
Priest for the last 2 years has definitely been offensive, but I don't think in the same way as you meant it. Of all the new cards, this is the one that makes me raise my eyebrow the most and go, you look like a new archetype.
Yeah, I think they're really going to do some cool stuff with, like, maybe not Shadow Spell School specifically, but just like leaning into the damage part of Priest instead of the healer part of Priest, which they did for quite a while. And, you know, like it's a difficult balance for sure, because that class does kind of fluctuate so far. You've got kind of Holy on one side, Shadow on the other, Discipline in the middle. And that can be difficult to kind of not muddy up too much in the course of trying to represent them with cards. So I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do to like bring the Shadow Priest archetype or idea back into Hearthstone. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited about it for sure. Because you're right, like 3 mana 4/3 that deals face damage. Like that's it. There's no drawback to this card that I can see.
Yeah.
So this just seems good, which gives me hope for a more aggressive Priest. And they've straight up said, I think it was Alec Dawson. I apologize if I'm attributing this quote incorrectly, but I think it was Alec Dawson that said, you know, just maybe passing a few turns and healing yourself is maybe not the most interesting thing in the world. And
yeah, no, it's definitely not. Early game of Priest is terrible.
Yeah, with Shadowed Spirit and with Crimson Clergy, like they were off to a good start, in my opinion. I think Priest is going to get there. I think Priest is going to maybe do something the first few turns.
Yeah, and we still have a whole expansion that we haven't even seen yet. So like, there's a lot of stuff that could be coming down the pipe for them in the next little while.
So we talked about Vanessa Van Cleef last episode. We talked about Novice Zapper for last episode, which just burns us right through Rogue and Shaman because they only got one new card each for the core set, which means we're into Warlock, which I think we talked about Ritual of Doom as well.
I think we did.
Yeah, that's a 0 mana rare shadow spell for Warlocks. Destroy a friendly minion. If you had 5 or more, summon a 5/5 demon.
Yeah, so very zooey, very like make a whole bunch of little guys and then trade them in for free for a big guy, that kind of idea.
Yeah. It's interesting to continue the zoo lineage.
Yeah. We also talked about Felsoul Jailer last week as well. I don't think we talked about Enslaved Fel Lord.
No, that's the 7 mana 4/10 common Warlock Demon that has taunt and also damages the minions next to whomever this attacks. Shout out for proper English.
Yeah, I mean, seems okay. Probably won't see play. It's pretty expensive. It has a big booty and a good effect, but I don't think anyone will play this.
Yeah, I don't think this makes the cut.
No,
even before seeing the next expansion, cards. Which means we're into Warrior, Joss. Bloodsail Deckhand is a 1 mana 2/1 common warrior pirate. Battle Cry, the next weapon you play costs 1 less.
So another one of those persistent effects that we were talking about. It obviously, again, plays into what Warrior wants to do as a class. They've got the pirate stuff, the weapon stuff. I love this card. I think she's so cute.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so it doesn't look like pirate synergies in your warrior are going away anytime soon, nor are weapon synergies. So could potentially see play depending on where those types of archetypes land for warrior moving forward. War Cache is next for warrior, a 3 mana rare warrior spell. Add a random warrior minion, spell, and weapon to your hand. That is a War Cache indeed.
That's a lot of value. And I mean, the randomness is there, but I think that's still okay because there's just so many resources, right? Like, this seems really good to me. And so is this going to follow like new spell rules kind of that we've seen them put into place where like it can't generate or cast itself? Because we've seen them make that kind of nerf to a lot of things. Because I can see like if this gives you like a minion and a weapon and another copy of War Cache and then a minion and a weapon and another copy of War Cache, that's a little bit too much value there.
I haven't personally seen clarification on that. Maybe someone in the chat room has. Our friendly neighborhood Celestalon is unfortunately not hanging out in our chat tonight. But yeah, I would assume they would probably do that. But at the same time, like it's warrior, like is it the worst thing in the world? Probably. It's only 3 mana. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's not as bad as Puzzle Box casting Puzzle Box, right? But
thanks, Joss. I hadn't been triggered by Yogg recently, so I appreciate that.
I'm glad I was able to bring it forward for you.
Cool. Final new warrior core card, Warsong Outrider, 4 mana, 5/4 common with Rush. I have nothing to say about this.
Yeah, pretty standard.
That's a real basic card right there.
Yeah.
Like a good chunk of this is just like, oh yeah, we didn't have Rush in the original classic and basic set, so let's get some Rush minions up in here.
Very much so.
Yeah. So we're into neutrals. There's some interesting things here, but we've talked about a good amount of the dragons already, but we're not quite there yet. We're starting with Fog Sail, Freebooter, a 2 mana 2/2 rare neutral pirate with a battle cry that reads, if you have a weapon equipped, deal 2 damage. This feels like a new neutral.
Yeah, very much. I mean, we had a lot of stuff that was neutral in the original basic classic set that had very little text. Like they were either completely blank and just stat sticks, or they were, very, very straightforward, like spell damage, taunt, like one word kind of answers or one word text on your cards. And this seems like it fits more into modern Hearthstone, where it's a 2 mana card that does something if you meet a condition. Like that's the level of complicated that Hearthstone is now, and I think this fits in a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. It's very straightforward, not the type of thing that I look at and go, oh yeah, this will totally find inclusion in deck slots, but also makes a lot of sense to have this in a core set.
Yes.
So. I'm like so afraid of saying corset now because you pointed that out at the top of the show. I'm going to just be like core set for the rest of the show.
I'm just going to say corset and you guys are just going to have to deal with it.
Sure.
I mean, who doesn't want to sit there thinking about corsets? Let's be honest.
Had I thought about this and the hilarity that would ensue, I would have gone out and found myself a corset to wear for this episode.
I probably have one somewhere.
So last episode, or was it 2 episodes ago, you were like, somebody should Photoshop Garrett into a crop top. Someone did.
Yeah, someone did.
If you want to go there for the corset, I'm not going to tell you not to.
I need Garrett corset pictures and I need them now.
Okay. Overlord Run Pack is our first new core legendary. 5 mana 3/6 with Rush. Whenever this attacks, give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand. I think we talked about this because we were talking about hand buffing last week, which means we're on to Talon Fordring. Actually, unfamiliar with this character, so I don't know if I'm saying Talon right.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he comes from the family of Tyrion, but I feel like it's the kind of name that, like, when you feel like you have like an itch in the back of your brain that's like, this, but yeah, I don't remember who he is. Probably Tyrion's son.
I'm wearing a
that
Scarlet.
We never see.
I think that might be a Scarlet Crusade, not even
Yeah, it kind of looks crusade-y, doesn't it?
It's got the center line.
Which
also, I don't know, maybe a leadership thing. I'm not that
You're not that into Warcraft tabards?
The Scarlet lore. I mean, I remember in vanilla, it was a really big deal when I got my Scarlet Monastery tabard, but yeah. Anyway, Talon Fordring is a 5 mana 3/5 legendary with Taunt, Divine Shield, and Death Rattle. Draw your highest cost minion.
It seems really good.
Effects like this have caused problems in the past, and I bet we will find,
which is why this seems good.
I bet we will find very specific reasons to want to play this card at some point before Talon potentially leaves next year.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, that is kind of a caveat with a lot of these cards, is that now that the core set can potentially change year over year, if something like this does become problematic, it can just be replaced, right? They're not tied to it the way that we have been tied to Basic Classic for so long. So I mean, I'm down for an effect like this for a year, maybe more. I think this is fine.
Yeah. I mean, this could potentially be your Kronks for whatever happens to be the highest cost minion in your deck.
Exactly.
A lot of interesting things you could potentially do here with Talon. So I'm calling now. We're going to see this in a couple decks within the next year. Which means Nosdormu the Eternal is up next. That's right.
We haven't talked about this, but I'm so excited.
Oh, this card. So,
some real true friendships are going to be born out of this card. I am telling you right now.
You will. Okay. All right. So 7 mana, 8/8, Legendary Dragon. Start of game. If this is in both players' decks, turns are only 15 seconds long. You will not have to wonder if the person sending you a friend request at the end of the game really wants to be your friend or not. If you both have this in your deck, you just make friends.
Exactly. I mean, this is going to create a whole like mini Hearthstone community / meta that are just going to be playing super fast Hearthstone all the time. And they're going to run into each other on the ladder and they're going to be super best bros right away. And I just love this card.
And at the same time, I guess this is a pretty clever way to get around all of the issues old Nosdormu caused.
Exactly. It's very similar. And the funny thing too is that like before it used to be an effect that would happen and go away, right? This is just, you are going to be playing a Hearthstone game with 15-second turns for the entire thing. Like I want to see some sort of like Masters tour where everyone just decides, okay, guys, guess what? We're just all going to put Nosdormu in our decks. And then we get 15-second turn Masters tour. I don't know if Raven is still in the chat or not. He might be hating that I'm suggesting this right now because the casters, oh my God, it would be so hard to cast. But it would be a great practical joke. Let's go, Masters Tour players. Put your whole Hearthstone future on the line so that Joss can have her meme.
Well, if anyone was wondering if Raven would ever guest on the show again.
Yeah.
I think that just went out the window. Yeah. I've been trying to behave and not talk about art too much. My favorite thing about this is if you remember old Nosdormu, he was big and imposing and totally roaring. The new Nosdormu literally looks like he was told to go behave himself and sit in the corner.
He really does. And especially like Ysera isn't actually breathing fire, but all of the other ones are like mid-battle fire breathing. Rah! And Nosdormu's like, yeah, I'll sit this one out.
Yeah, this is absurd card design. I think it's going to be pretty rare that you run into someone else running Nosdormu, but I
think
don't
it probably
care.
will be too, but yeah. And so then basically, if the other person doesn't have him in their deck, then he just becomes an 8/8 dragon for 7, which also not terrible, right? So
it's pretty terrible, but yeah, sure. Yes, it is terrible.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
Like, it's okay. Garrett, I want to trick people into thinking this is a good card, so more people just naturally slot him into a deck, and then we just end up with more speed Hearthstone games on ladder. Why won't you let me create this world?
I won't abide it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm just, yeah. I had to have a somewhat serious take on this card because the rest of it, like, what do you want me to do? You want me to seriously like analyze this card? It's absurd, and there's no no logical reason you should put this in your deck if your goal is to win games of Hearthstone. But this card is so much fun and is such a poster child for what makes Hearthstone special.
Yes. And the other thing that's really interesting is it does stay very true to what his original dragon form was, right? All of them are slightly updated versions of their old selves, which I really like. So I like that there is still this like crazy meme style of play that you can get into if that's your thing. And you can just like, because I think for some people that's going to be really fun, is just the fact that you can put this in your deck and then every once in a while, you're going to run into another fun player too, and you guys are going to have a great freaking time. And those are the kind of stories that Hearthstone was kind of built on, right? So I really like the design of this card because of that. It's not necessarily like competitively viable. It's not this like amazing bomb thing that everyone's going to want to run, but it's cool and it's fun. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. Which means we're on to Alexstrasza.
Did we talk about Alex already?
I don't think we talked about Alex.
We talked about Ysera, we talked about Malygos for sure, and we talked about Deathwing.
I don't think we talked about Alex, and I don't think we talked about Onyxia.
I think you're correct.
So Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder, 9 mana, 8/8, legendary neutral dragon. Battlecry, choose a character. If it's friendly, restore 8 health. If it's an enemy, deal 8 damage. So exactly as you were just saying about kind of all the dragons, this is very much in the spirit of what this card originally did in the original Classic Basic set. But updated and kind of brought up to modern Hearthstone standards. I like this design quite a bit.
Yeah, so do I. I like that it's not tied to that like magic 15 number, right? So it's going to do things like interact with armor, which it didn't do before. I mean, you could argue that it's less good because of that, because you're not reducing the health behind it. And but I think it's also interesting because you don't have to choose a hero, you just choose a character. So this can be a little bit more flexible. You can be removing another minion on board. You could be healing up something on your side. So it has a whole lot more flexibility, and again, really plays into what the Lifebinder, what Alexstrasza is in lore, right? Like she is this power of life, and she can kind of like bring it or end it. And so I like the flexibility there, and the kind of help your allies, hurt your enemies kind of dynamic there, because that's very Alexstrasza.
Yeah, I do have a game design thought, which is I think original Alexstrasza was a real like lesson teacher. Like it made you feel. I think at one point, every Hearthstone player has felt clever the moment they realized that, oh, I don't just have to use this to try and burn my opponent. I could also flex it to save myself. Yeah. And like, it's the epitome of the what if I told you Morpheus meme. And I like that. I liked that, like, on its face, it seemed like, yeah, I used this to get my opponent to 15 and murdered them. But I was like, well, no, wait, hold up for a second, because there's other uses for this. Whereas this is very literal. Like, is it you? Well, it's helping you out. Is it your opponent? Well, it's trying to murder them. So there's a little bit there. I'm like, I'm sad we're losing like light subtlety in card design, but like, really, I just wanted to give a shout out to old Alexstrasza because I thought it was cool design. But this is still cool design. So we talked about Malygos. New Malygos is still a 9 mana 4/12, but Battlecry draws spells until your hand is full. Onyxia the Broodmother. You're getting a new Onyxia. 9 mana 8/8, legendary neutral dragon. At the end of each turn, fill your board with 1/1 whelps. Yeah, Onyxia wasn't good enough for you? Here you go.
Well, yeah, this is very much a threat that has to be dealt with, right? So it's not just a battle cry thing that she does, and then that's the end of it. If you leave her up, she's going to have wave after wave after wave of whelps, which again, call back to the way that she exists in World of Warcraft, as well as the way that she existed in original Hearthstone. Really like this design, brings it up to date. Like, I think they did a good job of the redesign of the core dragons.
I agree. One might say many whelps. Handle it.
Exactly. Maybe we'll actually see her included in decks, and that would be cool.
That would be cool. I still think this is pretty. I don't think this is definitely an upgrade. I don't think it's a huge one because you'll probably have a way to deal with Onyxia this late into the game. But if you don't, or if you get a random Onyxia from discovering or generating other cards.
Which is things we can do now, right?
Yes.
Which we couldn't do in original Hearthstone, so we might see her more often.
Yeah, indeed. And then we talked about Ysera last week. We talked about the new Deathwing last week, so check out last week's episode for those discussions, which means, Jocelyn...
We're done, right?
Yeah, we're done. No.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yep. Maybe take a stretch. This is good moment. Oh, if you're wearing your
right?
maybe you're wearing your Raycon earbuds, stretch while continuing to listen. You know? Do that jazz. Maybe you're already listening to us while you're working out, in which case you're good, and for your health, definitely not ours. We will move forward with the cards that are returning from Wild. And there are so many of them that we are not going to go card by card.
No, because we've already seen these cards in play. We already know what they all do. There's a couple that I kind of wanted to highlight, but we definitely don't need to go card by card here. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff that I'm glad that we're getting back. Enchanted Raven for Druid, I think, was always a really good turn 1 play that kind of went along with a tokeny kind of deck. I mean, technically it's a beast, and they had some more beast synergies back when Enchanted Raven was a thing, but I still think 1 mana 2/2 is a really good card.
Yeah, that was on my list of notables as well. I mean, like, yeah, Pounce, I guess, is like, who cares? Was my reaction to Pounce.
Yeah.
But then, like, if we move over to Hunter, Web Spinner is coming back.
Hunter's getting a lot of, like, kind of iconic back in the day Hunter cards. So Web Spinner is on my list for sure. Dire Frenzy and Bear Shark and Quick Shot, like all of the Hunter cards that they're getting very much saw play in their day, and I think are going to continue to see play moving forward. And I'm really glad that these are core set cards now, because I was really worried when I saw the list of what Hunter was losing, and I was like, WTF, what is this class going to do now? And I think this is the answer, and I think it's a good answer. So, I mean, we got Bear Shark back, Garrett, Bear Shark.
We have to stop Bear Shark, okay? We have to stop him. Also, one more thing for Web Spinner. I did not get my Haunted Creeper back, and so I will take this as a consolation prize.
I like the Web Spinner. The Web Spinner did some really cool things. So yeah, I think it's a very, very good, iconic Hunter card, and I'm glad it's back in Standard.
It is Chef's Kiss status for a 1-drop, in my opinion.
Yeah, so which kind of brings me to Babbling Book. What are your thoughts on Babbling Book being back from Mage? Speaking of Chef's Kiss for 1-drops.
I think
this was everywhere.
I think they're just doubling down on the fact that I will be really pissed off losing to Mage again in the future.
Yeah, we also got Arcanologist, which is another one that saw a lot of play on the Mage side of things, and I think is probably going to go back in a lot are doing a lot of secret things right now in Standard, and also, like, one of my perma wild decks is that ridiculous secret mage. Yeah.
So Arcanologist coming back, to me, makes all the sense in the world and really signals that secret mage is going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, without it informs where I think the next expansion might be taken mage. I think some of those cards might have something to do with secrets, or maybe secrets themselves, Joss. I don't know. What do you think?
It's a mystery.
I was about to tell you, shrugging doesn't really work for the audio audience.
It's okay. I followed it up.
Yeah. Then we get to Paladin, where I just go, boo! Boo!
Boo!
Boo! No muster. No shielded mini bot. No quartermaster.
Okay.
Boo!
Okay. Yeah. I can see that.
I mean, they're getting Righteous Protector, which is actually, I think, a very well designed 1-drop again. Should probably remind folks what these cards are in case they weren't around the first time around. I apologize, folks. We've been doing this a long time, and sometimes we just like want to have a human conversation about this game. But yeah, it's a 1/1 for 1 in Paladin that has Taunt and Divine Shield, and you might remember it from the Battlegrounds until very recently.
Yeah, I'm excited about Avenge too, which is the 1-mana Paladin secret. When one of your minions dies, give a random friendly minion +3/+2. That again saw a lot of play, not just in the whole Mysterious Challenger days, which did not return. Sad face.
Are you really sad? Like,
I mean, kind of a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I played the crap out of it, but I felt like the worst person on earth when I was doing it.
But I feel like the game at that point in time, because that was the TGT days, right?
Yeah.
Basically, Mysterious Challenger and Secret Paladin at that point in time was like the only really good tier 1 deck, right? Like everyone who was grinding to legend was playing Secret Paladin, and it was a little bit easy. It was in the realm of easy when we're talking about decks using to climb to that level of Hearthstone, right?
Yes, and it was extra notable too because TGT had such a profoundly unremarkable effect on the meta outside of Secret Paladin.
Exactly. And it very much wasn't contested, as opposed to right now, the way that modern Hearthstone is. It's very much like if you threw Secret Paladin into this meta, like it may or may not even see play, like it's not even necessarily or on that power level of some of the other decks that we're seeing in Hearthstone right now. So yeah, and everything, we're at the point in Hearthstone as well that the way they're designing things, almost every class, almost all the time, has a tier 2 or higher deck available for them to play. And that's just not the meta that Secret Paladin originally existed in. And it's such an iconic Paladin deck kind of from the past that I thought that just Mysterious Challenger itself would have been an interesting inclusion in the core set, just because then it would kind of enable that archetype to exist in standard Hearthstone. Yeah, and secrets would rotate in and out, but I thought having Mysterious Challenger might be an interesting inclusion.
Yeah, but also what I find interesting is when we look at the returning cards, they're not really like the bedrock of an archetype. They're supporting.
They're a little bit more like innocuous and can kind of come in and out of everywhere. You're right. They're not metaforming or archetype defining necessarily. So that's probably why they stayed away from Secret Paladin or from Mysterious Challenger specifically. But at the same time, again, with the flexibility of the core set and the fact that he could only be in the core set for a single year, and maybe I should hold out hope that he'll come back next year. But because this set's a little bit more flexible than we've seen in the past, I think there's some opportunities to maybe bring in some of those old archetype defining cards. But that is not what they have done here. Secret Paladin is not coming back. Mysterious Challenger is still in Wild, as are many dude cards. So, or Quartermaster.
Yeah. And I Avenge saw a lot of play. It's just not a Paladin card that excites me.
Yeah.
So there is that. I think we talked about Tomb Villager already coming back for Rogue, but that's a big notable for Rogue as Tomb Villager, as well as Plague Scientist, the 3-mana 2/3 combo, give a friendly minion poisonous. That can get pretty powerful depending on what types of minions Rogue ends up with access to.
I can't believe you just skipped over the fact that you're coming back into Standard.
I didn't skip over it. Rogue comes before Warlock.
Oh. My science cropped that one out. I thought for some reason Plague Scientist was neutral.
Yes, yeah. So folks, if you missed the Old Gods days, it was a bit of a attack meme that Possessed Villager looked like me. And
he was the stand-in for you in the overlay anytime you weren't here.
So Last Man on Earth, that show is no longer on television, but I always thought it was a call to that show. And I haven't had a beard in a while, and my hair hasn't been my natural brown color in a while as well. So, there's all that.
But back in the day, spitting image.
Yeah, Possessed Villager. Also, just a good card. Good 1-drop. 1-mana, 1/1 in Warlock. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Shadow Beast. This saw a ton of play back in Old Gods days. Right at home in a Zoolock archetype.
Yep.
I'm excited for that to come back, and not just for personal Mimi reasons. It's just a good card.
Yep.
And then Warrior is the only returning Warrior card is Shield Maiden, but that card saw a ton of play.
Oh my God, so much.
Absolute ton of play, and they're losing shield block. So this is going to probably play a big role for Warriors that are looking to gain large chunks of armor at a time. But this costs more, but it's attached to a 5/5 body, but it also doesn't draw a card. So there's a pretty big upheaval, I think, of armor economy in new standard
things
Warrior.
Warriors used to doing.
Yeah, exactly. And while I never really saw play back in the day, I think we would both be remiss if we didn't go, Tiny Finn, welcome back.
Aw, it's so cute with his little sword.
I think that might have been exactly what you said the first time we laid eyes on Tiny Finn.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. His little buck teeth. He was just so cute.
I don't have a ton of neutrals I want to like give a special shout out to. And we already talked about Anoyotron, which
that's the one that I'm really stoked on. Although I feel Nerubian Egg too is kind of a big one.
Nerubian Egg and Baron Rivendare are the two big ones for me coming back in neutral. So Nerubian Egg, if you're unfamiliar, is a 2-mana 0/2. As most eggs are, no attack, some health, death rattle, do something. In this case, it summons a 4/4 Nerubian. This saw an absolute ton of play back in the Naxxramas days and following the Naxxramas days until we got our first standard year and they started shuffling things out of standard because standard didn't exist until we had our first standard year.
Yeah.
And Baron Rivendare, not as much, but still saw play. Obviously, we're all very familiar with Baron if we've been playing Battlegrounds, but it's been a while. Quite a while since he's been playable in standard. And so bring on the double death rattle triggers. I want to see what we can make happen in this new standard Hearthstone we find ourselves in.
Yeah, very much so. And I know we were talking about Ancient Watcher a little bit earlier on, and kind of something analogous to that is the Humongous Razor Leaf, which is the 3-mana 4/8 with the text that reads can't attack. So we were talking about potentially silencing our own minions back in our priest talk, and so this I think is definitely a potential target if they're going to start doing crazy silency shenanigans, although they don't have inner fire anymore, so they can't do the whole make its health equal to his attack anymore, or vice versa, attack equal to health.
Right. However, still that's a lot of stats.
Yeah.
That has a lot of stats. That's
a lot of stats being able to attack on turn 4.
Yeah, if you are a priest.
Yes.
Yeah. Or doing some rogue shenanigans and stealing priest spells. But
dang rogues and their shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, those are the returning cards we wanted to talk about. Now there's also changed cards. So classic and basic cards that are sticking around but are getting adjusted. We've talked about a few of these. Again, there are so many of these that we are not going to go card by card, but we have some that we really want to talk about. We already mentioned one of them, which is tracking. Which it now reads. So for Hunter, tracking was the old look at the top 3 cards of your deck, draw 1 and discard the others. It now simply reads discover a card from your deck. You're not discarding anything anymore, and it is no longer specifically the top 3 cards on your deck, which is relatively interesting. It's borderline irrelevant now that you're not discarding cards.
Unless you're somehow, if you were reorganizing your deck, which is a thing that we can do now, the top 3 cards would be very specific cards. But that was very much like an edge case scenario. I think this version of tracking just is objectively better, right? So yeah, you're not losing anything by playing tracking anymore. And I know there's always the bottom of your deck argument, but whatever. Basically, this just is better.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, this is better. I don't have to be like, oh, well, I want Animal Companion now, but I have to get rid of a kill command to pick it. Which I always just
those are decisions you won't have to make anymore, Garrett. At least in standard, because neither one of those cards is sticking around. Oh no, Animal Companion is gone.
Yeah, Animal Companion is leaving.
And Kill Command.
Standard. And Kill Command. Yep, that's pretty.
What are
wild.
You doing to my class?
That's pretty wild, Jocelyn. See what I did there? Yeah.
I do.
Can we take a minute and talk about Flame Strike getting buffed? Because it's staying at 7 mana, but it now does 5 damage to the board. Well, all enemy minions specifically.
It does, which is quite interesting because I thought it was fine at 4.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying this pretty wild, apparently.
But this is standard.
You're right, it is. I mean, it's been a while since I've been flame striked. That wasn't like a flame strike that was generated, but Mages
that's
are still
true,
gonna...
and I wonder if that's why this got buffed a little bit, is because they want to, again, like we were talking about with the dragons and stuff, like bring it up to the level of current Hearthstone so that some of these basic cards do see a little bit more play. So I'm wondering if that's why we got a Flame Strike buff. But yeah, I mean, it's just so iconically Hearthstone that, yeah, so this just made me go, wait, what?
Yeah, it's also like worth mentioning too, and we haven't really brought this up yet, that like the core set is being given to all players for free.
Yes.
And so that's also a boon. Like if you're playing with a limited card set, like seeing that a worthy chunk of this set are getting upped in power level. Mm-hmm. You know, be it through mana discounts or just in the case of Flame Strike, straight up doing more damage. And that's worth pointing out. It's
not just like an empty gesture and the core set is full of cards that will never see play. It is very much like, hey, here's the stuff you can use to flesh out whatever archetype you're choosing from the expansion. Like, I think this is really cool that they are buffing these to the point of playability.
Yeah, I agree. Or if you're also just having to substitute, it's like, okay, well, they're not garbage cards that you're having to slot in because you just happen to have them laying around.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got buffs to things like Equality and Sprint. Like Equality is going down to 3 mana. Sprint for Rogue is going down to 6. Which again is like the kind of thing where like I can't really remember the last time. Well, I can't remember the last time I got Equality, but I can't really remember the last time I saw a Rogue Sprint because they haven't really needed to. But these are cards that have like, they're a big part of Hearthstone's history and have, and in some cases still are seeing a lot of play. So to see them getting buffed, and also like Equality, like if you're playing against a Paladin, like you've been playing Hearthstone since the beginning, it's in the back of your mind. You know it costs 4 mana. You know when it could potentially come online, and now we are going to have to shift our brains to start thinking, oh yeah, I'm playing against Paladin, and Equality could happen a turn sooner. It could be comboed with other cards like Consecrate a turn sooner. Is Consecrate sticking around? Yes. Consecrate is sticking around. I mean,
Equality Consecrate is one of those like iconic things that Paladins used to do all of the time. It was like you would make a Paladin deck and 4 slots would already be taken up because you'd have 2 Equalities and 2 Consecrates, and then you went from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the kind of thing there. Like Sprint, I'm really not sure, but if it does start seeing play, it's gonna start seeing play sooner. And then like Fire Elemental, like this is another one where down in Shaman, Fire Elemental, the old 6 mana 6/5 Battlecry deal 3 damage. Well, now it's Battlecry deal 4 damage. This is a card we haven't seen a lot of play of in years, I think, but used to be a staple in Shaman. And so like I still want to like take a look at it because like here we are. It's like it's a card that used to be good, fell off, and here it is getting shored up. Feral Spirit we talked about last week. Lightning Storm we talked about last week. These are cards that used to play a big role in this class. Haven't seen a lot of play as of late, and they're getting buffed. Alakir as well.
Yeah, Alakir getting the health buff up from 5 to 6, which Again, like you said, a lot of stuff that used to see play that doesn't in Hearthstone now. But the other interesting thing that they did is they took Lord Draxus and made him a hero card.
Yeah,
which was basically, he was kind of the first ever hero card. And I think when, was it Lich King was the first time we got hero cards when we all became Death Knights?
Yes, this is the kind of thing that I don't know this for sure, but I go, oh, I think they learned a new thing. They learned new tech.
Yeah, and so even though he always kind of functioned like a hero card in that you got a new hero power, you got you did a thing, it never really, it was asked for at the time at Lich King when this happened, because everyone pointed out that he worked just like a hero card because you become Lord Draxus. And the team at the time just said, no, we're not going to do it. Now they're doing it. And I think this is good because the other thing is like, not only is he becoming a hero card, but he's also getting buffed because you're getting 5 armor instead of getting your health set to 15, right? So if he works like all other hero cards, which why wouldn't he? you would just get 5 armor on top of whatever health you've got, and all of a sudden you're Jaraxxus. So
there is one glaring downside to this,
which is you can't heal
no,
if you're low.
The old if you discard a card effects, play it instead type things. If Jaraxxus gets discarded and it was an effect like that, or what was it, Dirty Rat? This mostly happened with Dirty Rat, which wasn't actually a major upside, and then this wouldn't affect the new Jaraxxus anyway, because it played a minion from your hand, and Jaraxxus would now no longer be classified as a minion. But if there was some type of effect that it's like, if you discard a card, play it instead, I guess it would just trigger the Jaraxxus in that case. So it really would only affect that one Dirty Rat scenario.
Yeah, where you would pull a 315 and then laugh.
yeah, absolutely. So there's not going to be a strange, weird way to get a 315 Jaraxxus actually on the board. That's the only like big thing with this for me. Because other than that, everything you said is absolutely correct. To me, I look at this as it's a buff.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm pretty sure because John Noob in the chat room is saying he can't be sack packed anymore. I thought they changed Sacrificial Pact so that you couldn't target Jaraxxus anymore anyways. Because technically, if you guys didn't play Hearthstone when this was a thing, because Lord Jaraxxus was a demon and you were destroying your hero and replacing your hero with Lord Jaraxxus, you could actually, as a demon in place of your warlock, you could be targeted with Sacrificial Pact and killed. But I'm pretty sure that they changed that interaction a little while ago, so that he couldn't be targeted anymore. But I mean, you're absolutely right that this, if they didn't, and if I'm misremembering things, then that would get rid of the demon tag as well, because he's just a hero card now. He doesn't have a minion type.
Yeah, I'm going back through the changes to Sack Pack. It had something to do with Zephyrus.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because it was like you'd play Zephyrus and he'd give you the Sack Pack, and then that was a big, huge like game winner play.
Here it is. Yeah, they changed it back in April of last year to be only able to target friendly demons.
Right. Okay. Haha. I knew it.
Because
I knew there was a thing.
It was being abused.
Technically, you could have, if you were the warlock and you had turned into Jaraxxus, you could target your own face and kill yourself if you really wanted to.
I mean, if you're not going to lose, that's a very stylish way to do so.
Yeah.
All right, Jocelyn. Warsong Commander now reads, after you summon another minion, give it rush. Has this card been redeemed?
I think so. I'm happy that they did this. This plays around with the soul of the card in all the right ways instead of all the wrong ways. I'm happy that we're seeing a change to the card that I think makes sense. It makes it less an enabler of like crazy OTK, like charge minions that shouldn't have charge kind of thing, and into, again, modern Hearthstone, right? Like we have rush as a keyword now. I think that this is a good change, and maybe we'll actually see them do stuff with Warsong Commander and see play.
Yeah. Someone call Ben Brode and let him know that Warsong Commander's soul is still very much intact.
Exactly, and there's a lot of stuff like we're seeing Stone Tusk Boar as well as Bluegill Warrior. So those are our cheap minions that had charge, now have rush instead. So kind of changing a couple of those things around so that we're, moving away from charge and more towards rush, which is what we've been doing ever since rush was introduced as a keyword everywhere except for the course, or I guess classic basic set. Now we're getting rid of the charge out of the classic basic set and getting a core set with rush instead. And I think that that's a good call. And then the other thing about that is it makes charge a whole lot more iconic in Demon Hunter, right? So if Demon Hunter is one of the only classes that can actually charge minions, then that becomes a whole lot more interesting for them as a class fantasy, right?
Yeah, well, we did just talk about Alec here, and he's keeping charge. So Shaman will have access to that.
Charge, yeah.
I feel like there was one more. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. No.
There's
nothing.
So many cards.
I'm
not gonna get mad at you for not remembering.
I thought it was something we recently just went past, but charge very much being brought in line. And again, this revisionist Hearthstone history of putting rush on my charge cards.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Actually, I do. This is great. Charge was a problem. And then the only other one I really wanted to personally shout out was that Karen Bloodhoof and Bane Bloodhoof have both been going to the gym. Because they used to be 4/5s.
Fair enough.
They're now both 5/5s. Karen Bloodhoof was like
he was so good
of OG
he was
Hearthstone.
In everything.
Yeah, an absolute staple of OG Hearthstone, and just we've been avoiding him like a dead character in Warcraft. So.
Oh, rip.
Yep.
I'm also going to point out, go back up a little bit, Garrett, but Flesh-Eating Ghoul. Flesh-Eating Ghoul is one that was around for a while and did a whole bunch of really cool things and then just kind of went away. And I'm excited that it got buffed. I
completely forgot about Flesh-Eating Ghoul.
I know, but he was around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chat room, I want to say I did see a tweet from someone saying that Defender of Argus was going to be changed to reflect its standard buff in Battlegrounds. But
I think it makes sense. I mean, really, no one leaves a defender on board on purpose.
Yeah, this is a off-the-cuff question from chat room, and I'm recalling this from memory. So don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly certain I saw someone, I don't know if it was Alec Dawson or XR or Celestalon, but somebody pointing out that Argus would reflect it. So Defender of Argus is sticking around, but going up to 3 attack from 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did see people talking about on Twitter, like, hey, Defender of Argus is a carbon copy of itself in Battlegrounds. Will this happen? I think they could totally make that change and it would be okay.
Yeah, and I do think that they said, oh, you know what it was? It was about all of these cards that are being changed for the core set, if that was going to be reflected in Wild, or like what version of the card would you play in Wild, because the basic classic sets were moving. And they did, I think they said in response to that question, and again, off the top of my head from memory, was that if a card was changed, it was changed for all formats that it was a part of, which then to me, that would put Defender of Argus under that umbrella for Battlegrounds as well. I think the original conversation, like I said, was talking about these changes as they would reflect on the minions that were in the basic classic set. And yeah, the answer was, if they get changed, then it reflects in all modes of play. So
yeah. And I didn't tell you to stretch, Joss, but I'm glad you did, because I have now found the exact tweet I was talking about, which was Celestalon saying that, quote, we'll adjust things accordingly for Battlegrounds, but for this specific change, they were talking about Defender of Argus. Yes, that's the plan. So
there you go.
Argus going to a 3/3 in Battlegrounds. There you go. There's your Battleground segment for the week, everybody.
Ta-da!
Actually, no, I guess it's a less than Jake sample, but you get the drift, everybody. So yeah, and then there is returning cards that are changing, and quite a few cards here as well. They're all fairly unremarkable cards that didn't really see play back in their day, Joss. And we already talked about Menagerie Warden, because we've got Lock and Load for Hunter, Snap Freeze for Mage, Ethereal Conjurer for Mage as well. That
I feel like Conjurer saw play.
Yes.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit more health.
It's going to a 6/4 from a 6/3.
Mm-hmm. There's also Shadow Form, which we've already talked about. Swashbuckler, which is,
that's another big one.
Yeah, Swashbuckler was played a lot, but I think this Swashbuckler change isn't really a change in how it works. It's just a change in the wording.
Yes.
They changed a lot of these burgle effects, because it used to say your opponent's class, but then if you went up against a rogue, it was all messed up. So now it's just, hey, guess what? Another class. Surprise. So bringing it in line with the way that we now burgle.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a change, because it used to be add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class, and now it's just another class. So it is a change in how the card works, but you are also correct in saying that it's bringing it in line with modern burgle effects. So yeah, there's that with Swashbuckler, and saw a ton of play, and it's worth shouting out either way that Swashbuckler is coming back, because this was a card that just saw a ton of inclusion in decks. We did know Shadow Form was coming back, but we didn't know how. So I do want to mention that it's going down. It used to be 3 mana. Your hero power becomes deal 2 damage. If already in Shadow Form, 3 damage. So if you had 2 copies in your deck, you would get something out of this exchange. It's going down to 2 mana. It is now a shadow spell. Like, it has the new Shadow School spell tag on it. And it reads, your hero power becomes deal 2 damage. So there's no more stacking damage. You can't get up to 3 damage if you just so happen to cast 2 of these. But it's only going to cost you 2 mana to go into Shadow Form. Yeah. I was kind of hoping that if you had a second copy, you could take yourself back out of shadow form.
That would be interesting, right? If there was some way to kind of flip-flop back and forth between shadow and healing. Because again, we talked about the priest fantasy a little bit earlier, where you've got shadow on one side, holy on the other, and discipline riding this line in between. And shadow form, and if it came with, a spell in one of the expansions that was called like holy form that you could use to swap back and forth, then that becomes a whole lot more interesting. Because if you do have 2 copies of shadow form in your deck, the second copy is just a dead card, right? Unless you want some sort of spell activator, again, with that shadow tag, or just casting a spell and getting an effect for the act of casting a spell, then maybe you want to do this. But that would be some like weird, super late game scenario, like, I don't know, like a Lyra activator sort of deal, where you don't care what you're doing, you just want to cast a spell. But yeah, even then, there's better things to do with 2 mana.
Yeah, I was just hoping for like an interesting thematic thing there with being able to go in and out of shadow form. But if we're bringing shadow form back, I think this is a good change. And then I did want to give a shout out to Illidari Fellhound, because it's been a long time since I tried to play this card. This is the old 4 mana 3/8 taunt battlecry, discard 2 random cards. This is a demon and warlock. It is now battlecry, discard your 2 lowest cost cards. So this is now targeted discard, which I love as a mechanic.
Yes.
I love targeted discard. So I'm really stoked about this Illidari Fellhound change. I have no idea if discard warlock is going to come back, if it's going to be a thing. I assume if we're bringing Illidari Fellhound back, we're going to see some more discard effects in warlock. And I really hope we do.
Yeah, I love this change. And oh man, 3/8 for 4. So good.
Yeah. Now, are you ready, Joss? Are you ready for...
Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. We are not going to talk about every single card that is leaving, because there are far, far too many of them. And I don't know what we would add to it other than sad.
Yeah.
But we've been doing this show since beta, and we've had a lot of these cards around for a really long time, except Demon Hunter. I have no interest in shouting out any of these Demon Hunter cards.
The only one that I want to mention is they're losing that stupid jerk face Outcast Altra's card. Get out. Yeah. But we some of these, it's just, I just want to have a moment for us to go, oh my God, what is Hearthstone going to be like without this card? And we're going to do that a lot. We really, really are.
Starting with Druid, they're losing Savage Roar, they're losing Swipe, they're losing Starfall. And it's just like, okay, it's been a while since I've been Savage Roared. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I got Swiped today.
Yeah, Swipe is one of those that is stuck around forever. And they're also losing Wrath, which is another one that I feel like has been played up until now.
Yeah, and I'm like surprised they're losing Moonfire with we're losing old Malagos. We're getting the new Malagos. So it like feels like Moonfire isn't a major offender, but I guess it's just not in line with what they're, wanting modern Druid to be.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a 0 mana spell. It has, alongside other cards, very much been problematic in the past. So it's one of those, I think we're losing Moonfire because of design space issues, and I think that's okay. Like, if it's causing you problems, it's not just Malagos, though old Malagos was obviously the biggest offender alongside Moonfire, but just anytime you've got damage that can go anywhere that costs you no mana, it's going to potentially limit your design space. So I think that's why we're losing Moonfire, and I'm totally fine with it. It opens things up a little bit for them to do interesting things with not only spell damage, but spell schools now as well. So yeah, get out of here, Moonfire. Nobody likes you.
Yeah. Then there's Hunter, which we talked about Animal Companion going away. We talked about Kill Command going away.
They they gutted my hunter. They gutted him.
Yeah. Also, Flare, which again, it's a tech card, but it's such a unique tech card that has just come in and out of the game so many times. We're also losing Hunter's Mark. We're losing Eaglehorn Bow. We're losing Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah. And Tundra Rhino, which again, that falls in line with the whole rush charge argument we were having earlier. And Houndmaster, again, I cannot remember the last time I got Houndmastered outside of Battlegrounds, but Houndmaster was so good and so iconic and played all over the place for so long. Garrett, my heart is breaking right now. I mean, we got to keep Explosive and Freezing Trap, thank God, because if we didn't, I wouldn't even recognize Hunter anymore.
It's been a while since I played Houndmaster, but I feel you. I feel you.
You know, like, but it's everything.
Well, listen, at least you can leave this pain by feeling stronger pain by looking at what Mage is losing.
Yes. Mage is changing a lot.
I don't even know who you are anymore,
There's a lot
Mage.
of things here. Yeah.
Jaina, I don't know who you are anymore.
I'm really happy about, though, because especially Sorcerer's Apprentice, I feel like, again, in the same vein as Moonfire, very small design space. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to take into account when Sorcerer's Apprentice just is around for everything. And there's been a lot of strategies and decks and archetypes over the years that have not felt so fun to play against. And they almost all revolved around Sorcerer's Apprentice doing shenanigans. So I think this rotating out and going over to Wild is a good thing. They also lost a lot of freeze effects. So we've got Frost Nova is a big one, as well as I think they lost Blizzard as well, didn't they? Or have I not scrolled over that far? Yeah, Blizzard and Frost Nova. Yeah, the kind of like overarching freeze everything entire boards. They still have Cone of Cold, so they can still like kind of target AoE freeze things without just shutting you down completely, which I think is healthier. But
they lost one of their new freezing spells. They're losing Icicle, which we never played on purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And Antonitis, man. No more Infinity Fireballs.
Yeah. No more Pyroblast. Pyroblast is going away. Like Polymorph.
But you can still get Pyroblasted to death if you play Yogg.
And that's the second Joss triggered Garrett with a Yogg Saron reference of this episode. And then the Polymorph. We friggin' named the first episode of this podcast after Polymorph. Like,
we did, yeah. Killed by, what was it? Killed by a sheep or
Death by Sheep.
Like that. Death by sheep.
Death by Sheep. Yeah. Story behind that was you and I were playing during the beta. I think it was the first game we ever played together, and I purposefully waited to kill you with your own sheep that you'd sheeped one of my minions. Yeah. I was probably playing Shaman, knowing me back then. I was playing Magic and I was new to the game, and I saw Manatide Totem, and I was like, wait, this just draws cards indefinitely? Clearly Shaman is broken. That's all you needed to get me excited about your card game, was give me infinite draw, potentially infinite draw. But yeah, Mage is nuts. Paladin is clearly the greatest offender of cards leaving because we are losing Eye for an Eye.
Right? Like, we are losing like every old school like Angry Chicken meme ever. Like,
they're all leaving. Yeah. Sword of Justice hasn't seen play in a long time, but used to be a real big kind of bedrock of Paladin play. Same for Avenging Wrath and Lay on Hands. Lay on Hands still seeing play in some decks right now.
Man, I remember the first time I played Avenging Wrath, and it became like my favorite card in Hearthstone just for the animation and how satisfying it was to just cast it. It was like thump, 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 thump. The whole screen goes dark. Like, it just, oh man, it was such a satisfying card to play. And now it's gone forever because no one plays Wild.
You forgot my favorite part about it, which is like before it even starts, it goes wing.
Yeah.
Dum, dum, dum. And this has been The Angry Chicken Does Hearthstone Sound Effects. I hope you enjoy it, everybody. I hope you enjoy it. Then we get into Priests, which again, a lot of kind of old staples are going to be leaving standard. Circle of Healing, Silence, Power Word Shield, Inner Fire, which you already mentioned. Shadow Word Pain is going away. Thought Steal is going away. Cabal Shadow Priest is going away. Mind Control is going away, in addition to tons of other priest spells. But That's pretty crazy. Oh yeah, Shadow Madness. My goodness, I almost looked over Shadow Madness.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, those are some major ones. Personally, I'm gonna miss Lightwell. That's like my personal. Like I've always carried a little flame for Lightwell. I cannot
for
tell
me,
you.
It's Shadow Word Pain. Honestly, like it's been around so long that it's so weird to think that priests aren't just going to be able to straight up murder my minions. I don't have to worry about making things for attack anymore.
Yeah, it's gonna change the way we think about things for sure. Even though, I mean, we've mostly just been worried about priests rezzing things at nauseum.
Yeah.
So like some of these, like the priest, like I think the landscape has changed so much that we're not going to really notice it as much. And I kind of feel the same way for Paladin. Like Lay on Hands might be the most obvious one that I think we're going to like notice the lack of. But the rest of them, while they had their time and they have their place in Hearthstone's history, it's been a long time since we've seen them.
Unlike some of these rogue cards.
Yeah. I do want to start off though by saying it's okay, Defias Ringleader. I'll see you in Classic.
This is our town, scrub.
Yeah. But also thinking about Standard without Eviscerate, Sap, Shiv, Phantom Knives, and I know it's a neutral, but South Sea Deckhand might as well be a rogue card as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Edwin Van Cleef, because I know we've already talked about him, but yeah, that's another one that's super iconic and leaving. So there's a lot of stuff that rogues are doing right now that it's just like, nope, gone, get out.
Yeah. Blade Flurry, I know it got nerfed, and it's been a long time since Oil of Rogue days and me yelling, Blade Flurry, more like days, Blade F yourself, but yeah. Oh, that card sticks with me. Those were some salty days on ladder for me. Did not like Oil Rogue. I did not like it at all. But everything we just mentioned, but I think I can't decide if Eviscerate hits me harder or Sap. Like trying to think of
it's 100% Evis for me. 100%.
Oh, Sap is right there with it for me. In terms of
I feel like Sap kind of like came in and out of rogue play, but Avis has just always been there because it's a flexible spell. It's like face damage when it needs to be. It's board damage when they need to clear something. It just, man, everyone had Eviscerate all of the time.
Yeah. I'll give it to you. Yeah. Okay. Eviscerate gets this hits the hardest in rogue for cards they're losing in Standard. Shaman is losing Earthshock, Stormforged Dax.
That's a big one.
Farsight, Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah.
And then Bloodlust.
And Lava Burst. You skipped over
Lava Burst. I skipped over Lava Burst. I'm just like so...
Yeah.
Like thinking about... When they announced the core set, my brain went to, we're getting rid of the things that never see play. Not, we're getting rid of the things that have never stopped seeing play.
Yeah.
And
I need to go play a whole lot more Totem Shaman, because if I'm only going to be able to lust for the next like month, it just needs to happen. Like you've said a lot of thirsty things in your life. That was the thirstiest sentence you've ever spit. I can only lust for one more month, you guys. That's what I said before my wedding. Boom, ching. That was a terrible rim shot.
Oh goodness. I mean, I was very thirsty at your wedding. Poutine is a salty wedding snack. Yeah, that's Shaman without Bloodlust. I guess rip Totem Shaman, or I guess let's see what you got, because Isor's sticking around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we doing? Is Isor going to be enough? Are we slowing down? I mean, some of this does look like we're slowing down to me.
Yeah, very much in a lot of cases,
which I am all for. But that is, I know I've said it, but that is truly wild. So is thinking about Warlock without Soulfire or Voidwalker.
Yeah, Voidwalker feels like a big deal. There's a whole lot. I guess Shadowflame would be another one if we're looking at kind of a control archetype, though again, it hadn't really seen play because they had some different kind of removal spells that had come in with some of the more recent sets. But Shadowflame for a while there was kind of a go-to early game way to deal with a big board. So Shadowflame leaving, I think, is a big deal. I'm with you on Soulfire and Voidwalker. Again, staples of Zoo, staples of, just a lot of like anything that was early and aggressive or kind of mid-gamey, definitely use Soulfire. So there's some, not all, I feel like Warlock didn't lose as many things as some of the other classes in terms of their big iconic spells that saw a lot of play kind of all the way through Hearthstone's history, but I think there's some there. Soulfire, Voidwalker, and Shadowflame are up there in terms of iconic class cards. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh man. I don't feel as rip Warlock though as I do some of the other classes.
No. After looking at Hunter, Mage, Rogue, and Shaman, Warlock seems tame, Paladin seems tame. Priest did lose a lot, and especially if you've been with Hearthstone for the long haul, it lost a lot of classic cards, but those cards haven't been seeing a ton of play now, like for the last 2 years. So that doesn't hit as hard. And I would say the same for Warrior. I think Warrior kind of going to look pretty similar, but it's still not without its notables, like it's losing Inner Rage, Upgrade, Shield Block.
Shield Block is the one, we talked about earlier.
Yeah. And then Korkron Elite, which, again, maybe not so much in modern Warrior, but definitely played a really big role in the history of the class.
Yeah, and so Korkron Elite was the one that stood out to me the most, that got almost a direct replacement with, I can't remember the name of the new Warrior card, but it was like 1 more mana, 1 more attack, 1 more health, but rush instead of charge, right? So again, just changing those things, bringing them into the more modern Hearthstone world. And that was the most almost 1-to-1 replacement of a card in terms of our class cards. But
Warsong Outrider without taking a full minute to scroll back up to find it.
Yeah, so that was the most 1-for-1 kind of change that we see. But I'm sad that this is leaving. But again, no charge allowed. Arg, unless you're a Demon Hunter.
Yeah. And then we've got lots of neutrals leaving, which is a big reason why we weren't going to talk about every single card that's leaving, because really all we're doing is eulogizing these cards.
Yeah.
and you can still go play them in Wild and Classic.
Yeah, and there's some that are kind of key that have seen play again through a lot of points in Hearthstone's history. We've got Knife Juggler, Doomsayer, Wild Pyro. Those are things, even Questing Adventurer for Rogue, with things that kind of Rogue is losing that no one else will notice. Novice Engineer just for straight up card draw. These are all things that we still see played now. Dread Corsair that you mentioned as well for Rogue, and I would argue Warrior as well. Captain Greenskin, which we've seen in a lot of Warrior decks that were centering around that whole pirate buff your weapon theme. So there's some stuff in here, I think, that's kind of sad. I'm not that we've seen him be played in a while, but I'm kind of sad Harrison Jones is going. I always thought that he was a really interesting card design because of the fact that you're doing something bad to your opponent that they don't want to have happen, and then also you're getting a benefit on the back end because you're getting that card draw as well. So Harrison's one that saw a lot of play early on. Haven't seen him lately, but I thought he was really interesting design.
I saw him a week or two ago, but it's far from a... We're not having an onset of Harrison Jones in the meta, but Harrison Jones might be my favorite tech card of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a cool design. He's so powerful, regardless of the fact that he's just the doofiest looking Indiana Jones knockoff.
Oh, yeah.
But
hey, Harrison, you look like a doof.
Yeah, it's just... Sorry, Harrison, we got Reno, okay? Where's the jealous girlfriend meme where I'm looking backwards at Reno while Harrison is on my arm? That's that. But Harrison Jones is just such a well-designed card. I'm really going to miss it. But, Joss, it's time.
Is it time, Garrett?
We have to say goodbye.
We do. And so this is the reason that I was like, the core set is terrible, and how are you not on board with this? We're losing it, Garrett.
It's time.
This
time we
is
have to
the
say
end.
goodbye. This is the end. It's over. The angry chicken.
I feel like there needs to be some sort of like sad song playing in the background right now.
It's been a long day without you, my hen. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. And I'll stop there so I don't get DMCA'd like
right?
Metallica did during the BlizzCon line stream. Yeah,
Do we
Angry
have to
Chickens.
rename the show, or are we just done? This is it.
I
No more
believe
Angry Chicken.
If there was ever a time for us to decide to end the show, it would be right now. Yeah, Angry Chicken's going to wild. All right, I'm dropping it now. We've never put this in our deck on purpose outside of when we were trying to meme.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, he only really saw play when Rexar was in Standard, because you could make some really cool zombies if you had an Angry Chicken involved, and that's about the only time.
Is Team 5 telling us they're over our podcast? Is it time to hang it up? Or is this them telling us, being like, listen, guys, you had a good run?
Yeah, it's time to hang it up. You were a great meme. You had some good times. But now it's time to get out.
Oh, Christ. Yeah. Listen, Angry Chicken. First they took your Enrage away, and now they're taking you away. And I won't stand for it. That's it. No, I refuse. I mean, Jocelyn.
The core set is so big. Could they not have just left this one card in? I mean, no one has to play it, but it's fun and cool, right?
Angry Chicken listeners at home, Tack family, Cluckers, rise up. It is time to leave the coop. I want you to rally, okay? We need hashtag.
This is worse than Year of the Unicorn.
Hashtag save the Angry Chicken. I want it trending. Tweet at Play Hearthstone. Hashtag save the Angry Chicken. We need to keep this card in Standard. We need to preserve the legacy of this card never seeing play.
Being the worst rank. How's anyone going to understand what rank they are now? Huh, Team 5? How are they going to know? They're just going to be like, what the hell is this chicken here? What is this rank? Why is this happening to me? This isn't even a card. Yeah, we have to save the Angry Chicken.
Lost the Angry Chicken. Where'd it go? Accidentally maximized this massive image.
Very fitting. We're losing the Angry Chicken. Where's it going?
Where is it? This is it. This is our time to rise up, chickens. I want you enraged, okay? I don't want you +5 attack while damage. I want you enraged. Tweeting them. Let them know. We will not stand for this.
We will not stand. This insult shall not stand.
Doesn't matter if we're flightless birds, okay? Doesn't matter.
I'm so sad. I looked over the list. I'm not even lying. I looked over the list of the core set probably 4 times, and I was like, no, I've got to have scrolled by it. I had to have missed it, right? It's in here. It's not, guys. It's not. I was very upset.
I'm sad it's going away. Yeah. I'm sad. And we're not getting a replacement. One of the new cards is not a new, actually looking Angry Chicken.
No, that's the thing. Like, his picture doesn't match his face. He's not angry. He's confused at best.
We did get the chicken token in Goblins versus Gnomes, which I'm trying.
Now that was an Angry Chicken.
Yeah, it came off of Gnomish Experiment, and we had a chance to ask Ben Brode at BlizzCon. We're like, hey man, that's one pissed off chicken. Was that a nod to the show? And he was like, oh yeah, totally. So yeah,
we always have been the angriest of chickens.
The angriest of chickens, yeah. So we got an angry chicken into the game. It's just that it left with GVG. So I think that's where we're gonna end it. That's where we're gonna wrap this up. We did our notable cards leaving. But there's so many others. Like, we could be here for another hour going, oh, you remember the days of Tankmaster Overspark?
I remember.
Someone posted the Grim Reaper meme with Boulder Fist Ogre saying, was I good stats for my mana cost? And the Grim Reaper going, no, You were great stats for your mana cost. I think I saw Ixar post that meme. It was so good.
Oh my God.
You know, I think I played Hogger on purpose once. I'll miss that card.
I definitely played Hogger on purpose, but I did a lot of bad things in vanilla.
Black Knight, I mean, we're going to miss that. All of the dragon aspects, I mean, because almost all of them have seen play at one point. I think Nosdormu is kind of the main outlier, but Nosdormu saw a lot of play, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, by accident.
I guess Onyxia might be the outlier. I don't think Onyxia ever really caught on.
I think Onyxia is the one that never actually took a deck slot.
Yeah. I think Gruul was the first legendary I ever opened.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that was sad. Not a good card. So yeah, Black Knight. We didn't mention Black Knight. That's a big tech card that hasn't seen play in a long time, but used to be a really big player. So yeah, like I said, we could be here for another hour, but those are the big ones, the ones that are important to us and the ones that were important to the history of Hearthstone. Oh, Doomsayer. I have to mention Doomsayer. Doomsayer leaving. I mentioned
Doomsayer.
Did we mention? Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. Oh man, remember the old days of Frost Nova Doomsayer? Get that shit to wild.
Bring on the evolve effects. I can finally evolve in peace. Evolve my 1-mana minions without fear for my board. So that's good to go. And so is this episode.
He knew it. He knew it.
Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the Angry Chickens core set special. Let us know how you liked it. If you would have preferred an 8-hour episode where we just went card by card.
Garrett, why would you even put that out there in the universe? Because of course that's what they want.
No, I'm just curious if there's anyone where that's like legitimately what you want. Because at a certain point we would have just like broken down and been very robotic and it wouldn't have been all that interesting. But anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, folks. However you get this podcast, thank you for getting it. I would recommend and ask that if you have a podcatcher, a podcast listening device that you prefer, that you go there and you subscribe to the show. Because when you download the show, even if you listen to other places, that really helps us. It's just easier to track the metrics, helps us with sponsors, and you help the show. Other than that, if you want to help us out, check out patreon.com/TAC. That's where you can go. It's an opt-in way to support the show financially, and it is the major way you can help this program. So go check it out if you want to support us. Patreon.com/TAC. We got a lot of perks over there for you. And also, big thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. If you want to become a producer, check out patreon.com/TAC. Other than that, the whole back catalog of episodes and everything can be found over at theangrychicken.com. We own that domain, and I frequently forget that because for the longest time it was just like amove.tv/TAC. But now you can go to theangrychicken.com. You can do that. And I am aware that for some odd reason, the security license on amove.tv has expired. I thought I fixed it, but it's been 72 hours and it's still saying that. So, hey, if you're out there and you know what the hell is wrong with this, because I don't, I could use a hand.
Hey, that's a thing that I'm learning in school about security certificates. So maybe I can help kind of a little. I'll look in my textbook.
Cool, please do. I followed the instructions I found on Squarespace, and I waited the 72 hours, and it's still an issue. So anyways, before we go, Jocelyn, and before I go check Twitter to see if anyone can actually help me with this very specific issue, where can folks find you when you're not doing TAC with me?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. You can also check out my other podcast, The Gamers In for Azeroth. Well, and this one, which is not another podcast. It's another podcast, but not, you know.
My next podcast will be called literally Another Podcast.
Yeah. The other podcast.
Followed by the next podcast, followed by yet another podcast.
And also that one.
Folks, you should go follow Joss.
It's been a long day.
Go find Joss's other podcasts. They're wonderful. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, GarrettArt. That's how you spell that. amove.tv for this podcast and every single other one that I produce. So go and check it out. It's going to wrap it up for this episode. We will see you next week as we march ever closer to still no release date. But we're Forge in the Barrens. Why couldn't I think I'm like Into the Barrens? No, that's not it. Forge in the Barrens. But as we get closer to it, because it does say it's supposed to come by the end of the month. But until then, job's done.
# Save the Angry Chicken.
Are you allowed to not say job's done?
I don't know. Am I? I just did.
I feel like the world's going to explode. We've ended like every episode since we all got on board for it, which was like 3 or 4 episodes in.
Do you want me to do it? I can do it
no,
if you
no,
want.
No.
Nope. I just thought that was an important message.
It is an important message. On this very special episode of The Angry Chicken,